Vanderbilt and Auburn get set to do battle Saturday afternoon in Nashville. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Commodores and the Tigers. Hello, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark. We cannot do it without your love and support. Also, guys, make sure you check out our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. The Vanderbilt Commodores find themselves in a position in November they did not expect to be in, per se, that with college football playoff being on the mind, maybe even making an unexpected trip to Atlanta, Georgia. Standing in their way, the Hugh Freeze-less Auburn Tigers with DJ Durkin leading the way. Auburn now with a clean slate moving forward. They're trying to play spoiler and pull the upset. Or will it be Diego Pavia yet again against War Eagle getting out his vengeance? Again, we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. It's Vanderbilt. It's Auburn. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, and the man that almost called the end of the Hugh Freeze tenure at the end of Baba Yaga, but a week too early it took place. Mr. Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time. Almost. You almost had it.
Yeah, John Cohen had to make sure that prediction never came true. When he knew that the writing was on the wall, if somehow, some way Hugh Freeze walked into Nashville, he was not leaving with a win. It just was not going to happen. So you hit reset. And there's a lot of things on the line for both of these squads. For Vanderbilt, we saw on Tuesday night the college football playoff rankings be unveiled. 16 is not a bad spot to be in. You run the table, you win on out, you're going to be in the college football playoff. And it's very possible to see that from Vanderbilt. From Auburn's side, DJ Durkin is now running the show as your interim head coach. Nix is now going to be calling the offensive plays. There is a fine group of people out on the plains that says, our defense has been a reason why we're in every game. If we see a lot of positivity from DJ Durkin as the head coach, we might just remove the interim tag, go use that money to go better our roster. So there's a lot to play for on both different sides. One is a college football playoff berth. The other one is retaining as much talent as possible and cohesion for a staff that honestly on paper is still network-wise, composite-wise, a top 20 team in college football.
Vanderbilt and Auburn getting set, 3 o'clock Central Time kickoff on SEC Network here in Nashville, Tennessee at FirstBank Stadium. Vanderbilt is a 6.5-point favorite via our friends over at FanDuel. The over-under is set at 45.5. This series, interestingly enough, it's all tied up 22, 22, and 1. So someone is going to take the series lead this weekend with a victory. Of course, the last meeting came last year. Vanderbilt won that game by a final score of 17-7 on the Plains. Of course, again, it was Diego Pavia beating Hugh Freeze again. That being said, Bear, as we jump into this game, interestingly enough, again, no Hugh Freeze for Auburn. Is there a fired coach's bump? We see that a lot, right, where teams come out, play hair on fire. I feel like we're talking about this essentially every other game because we've got so many coaches in this league that have been fired. I mean, I think the biggest storyline is what does Auburn look like specifically offensively without Hugh Freeze, right? Because defensively, like you said, they've been good enough to win and win at a high level. We all know they're one of 3 teams in college football that have not allowed more than 24 points in a game. It's Auburn, it's Ohio State, and it's Indiana, and that's the list. And Ohio State and Indiana are 1-2 in the college football playoff rankings. Meanwhile, Auburn, well, we know what Auburn is at this point. So what do you get out of this group offensively? You know, we heard DJ Durkin with the comments earlier this week at the podium saying, hey, we're going to have one offensive play caller. He's going to call all the plays on every down. You know, we're not going to have any of this confusion or nonsense or what have you. So I do wonder, it's going to be interesting. I think it could be a really exciting yet frustrating day if you're an Auburn fan, even if they have success, because I think it's going to show you potentially how much Hugh Freeze was holding this offense back.
Well, that was the problem that we talked about throughout the entire offseason was why are you going out there and saying that you're going to have multiple play callers, one on first down, one on second down? Nobody was able to find any identity because of it. And so Now you're just giving the ball to Derek Nix. And Nix is a guy that understands the SEC. He understands wide receiver play from his time at Ole Miss. He's done a good job of kind of combating that into the running backs coach at Auburn. So I think that when you look at what Auburn has offensively, again, talent-wise, they're there. I mean, you still have a healthy Cam Coleman that is, when he's at his peak, top 3 wide receiver in college football. You have a Jeremiah Cobb that knows how to make plays in space. You have, in my opinion, good secondary elements, whether it be Eric Singleton, whether it be Miles Simmons, whether it be Perry Thompson. So can you win your one-on-one battles against a very still underwhelming Vanderbilt secondary? Now, Vanderbilt, again, has been able to win games, but they win games because of their defensive line, their physicality, their ability to get after the quarterback, bring him down, and force teams to have to live in 3rd and long. But they also have given up a lot of explosive plays. We saw it in the LSU game. We saw it last week against Texas with multiple touchdown passes, from the Ryan Wingo 75-yard strike to begin the afternoon to what probably should have been a pass interference call against Emmett Mosley in the end zone. I mean, they were able to torch them, but you got to be able to have a quarterback that can make those plays. 2 things I'm looking for. Number 1, do we go back to Jackson Arnold full time? Like, is this now the Jackson Arnold show because of you feel like he gives you a better shot to win against this defense? Or is it going to be Ashton Daniels? And number 2, can you get anything moving through the air? Because if you become a one-dimensional offense that makes it clear that we're going to have to run it to win this football game, Vanderbilt should be in a good spot. Vanderbilt still has a top 20 defense in the trenches. They're good at making open field tackles, minus last week against Texas. Good God, that was embarrassing at times. But if they can do the little things right, they're going to eventually force Jackson Arnold to have to throw the football, or Ashton Daniels to have to throw the football. And you can have weapons, but if you don't have a facilitator as the engine that can get the ball into the playmaker's hands, it's a moot point. It really just comes down to that from the standpoint of Auburn.
Yeah, Bear, I agree with you 100%. If you can't throw the football and you have to rely on the run, you are running right into the teeth of what Vandy does well defensively. Again, you look at when teams have been able to beat them, it has been through the air. Texas, 328 passing yards a week ago. You mentioned Ryan Wingo, Emmett Mosley, DeAndre Moore, all a bunch of guys that had big days for the Longhorns, torching them through the air. You need guys like Cam Coleman to step up, Perry Thompson, guys like that, to have big days for you on the outside. I'm curious. I want your opinion, Bear. Who would you start at quarterback, Jackson Arnold or Ashton Daniels, if you had to make the choice?
Gun to head, I still go Jackson Arnold. I do.
Really?
I think that as much as Ashton Daniels maybe is a more, I would say, safe option, I don't trust Ashton Daniels as a thrower. I don't. I don't trust Jackson Arnold as a passer either, but I can tell you what, I've seen Jackson Arnold make several big-time throws this year. I watched it against Arkansas just a few weeks ago. Big-time touchdown pass to Cam Coleman. I mean, don't get me wrong. Not the best thrown ball, but I'll tell you what, you have a wide receiver like Cam Coleman, he's going to go up and make a play. That's got to count for something. I don't see that with Ashton Daniels. I see a guy to where you say he's going to be running. Like when we talk about Diego Pavia can tuck and run, but also he's shown you he's not afraid to let it fly. Jackson Arnold can't let it fly deep, but he can let it fly. Ashton Daniels can't throw it. So it already limits you to, I think, just being a one-dimensional offense at that point.
Again, Vanderbilt sitting with 2 losses now, 7-2, 3-2 in conference play. Bear, you got to win out from here. It starts at the quarterback position for them as well. Diego Pavia, who, again, a week ago against Texas, threw for 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. A lot of that obviously coming late after they got down big early in that game. He also ran it 14 times, 43 yards. Vandy's got to get back to running the football too, though. Ran out for only 58 yards a week ago. Obviously, Texas, one of the best defensive fronts we know in the country. But, you know, it was very similar. You think about this, Bear. Vandy has lost 2 football games this season. In one of those football games, their running backs had 6 carries. That came against Alabama. Their true running backs had 6 carries. Against Texas, they had 10. There's a trend there. Right? When Vanderbilt is running the football with their running backs and they're able to establish that running game, goes without saying, they're clicking on all cylinders offensively. They're winning time of possession. They're winning football games. And when they don't, and as good as the numbers were last week to the year, and granted, they actually won the time of possession last week by a single minute. But my point being, there's a certain formula for Vandy you and I talk about every single week when we talk about the doors. They've got to get back to, I think, more so of that ground and pound, obviously utilizing the passing game to have balance. And certainly you can hit some explosives with guys like Junior Sherrill, Why am I blanking on the best tight end? And Eli Stowers, Junior Share, all these different guys. There's plays to be had there, but it starts with the running game and not just Diego Pavia, but getting those backs involved.
Here's the problem, and this is where the reality kind of sets on in. Auburn's good on the defensive line. Like, again, we've talked about Auburn being in every single game. It's because their defensive line is damn near elite. I mean, if we're just being completely honest, they're number 9 in the country against the run. They're top 15 in pressure rates. They do a good job of filling the gaps, and they have depth. Like, they really do. Outside, it's not just Keldrick Falk. You also have Malik Blockton. You also have Amarius Williams. You have Kearing Crawford. You got Chris Murray. You got Dallas Walker. I mean, you got name after name after name that can go ahead and make plays. And they've shut down almost everybody. I mean, they held Georgia to under 100 rushing yards. They held Missouri to under 100 rushing yards. Those are 2 running backs that right now, and Chauncey Bowens and Ahmad Hardy, I'm taking over Cedric Alexander 10 times out of 10. So this is not the game to where you get right running the football. And I understand that you got to trust your run game at some point, which is why I think early on the game plan, if you are Jerry Kill and if you are Tim Beck, is that you have to trust that even if we go 3 and out, we got to go 3 or 4 drives where we are getting back to the element of running the football down their throat and making them have to pay with an AJ Newberry, with the Maitland Young, with the Cedric Alexander, not with Diego Pavia. Because if I do think that you are right, the carries was a very underwhelming part of the day, but still, this is not a team that you get right with running the football. But if you're able to go ahead and set the run, eventually you will watch as DJ Durkin has to start playing closer to the line of scrimmage and get more in the box, which gives you those opportunities to take the shots downfield to Junior Sherrill, to Richie Hoskins, to Trey Richardson, to Eli Stowers. And again, all it takes is one broken play, and that's where it all clicks. We can talk about the penalties. We can talk about officiating, letting Vanderbilt find a way to get into that game. But we also got to talk about the far too many explosive plays and the lack of depth of the secondary that Texas has because multiple starters were out that we watched as Vanderbilt capitalize in that standpoint. I mean, Diego Pavia, Chris, here's the funniest stat of all. Diego Pavia, we talk about as being a quarterback that can do a little bit of everything and have that moxie. Saturday was the first time against a Power 4 team this year and the second time in his entire career at Vanderbilt. He has thrown for over 200 yards, and he threw for 365. Like, he is going to have the opportunities to win through the air. But you got to make sure that you stop the run game and put yourself with a good advantage ahead before that even becomes a conversation if you're Auburn.
Bear, it's going to be an interesting game, no doubt, at FirstBank Stadium. You know, Vandy rolls in with tons of confidence, knowing what Diego Pavia has done against Auburn last year and done this season to this point. For Auburn, there's maybe some beauty in the unknown. You've unhitched the wagon from Hugh Freeze. Does that lead to an improved product on the field? We shall see. That being said, Bear, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. You like the honors? Or you want me to start?
I'll go first. I actually do think that Auburn's going to come out swinging, and I think that Auburn's going to prove to the world that quite literally their head coach that was stuck in 2015 running an offense found in 2022 was the ultimate reason why they couldn't get the job done. That's just my stance. They have a top 20 composite roster that honestly is probably on paper better than what Vanderbilt has. It just is. I mean, you look at the names that came on in via the portal, you look at back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes. If they're being properly coached and they're not put in a position to where they're being screwed out by bad play calling, they could make this a 4-quarter game. I absolutely believe that. I also know that this is a matchup to where Vanderbilt has realized now there is no margin for error. We can't lose in Neyland and find a way to get into the playoff. We can't lose against Kentucky and still punch our ticket to the postseason. We have got to show on up and show on out as a legit threat every single Saturday. And we got to make sure that we leave no margin for error for them to pick and prod on, hey, there's a couple 10-2 teams in. Do we throw Vanderbilt in or do we throw Notre Dame in? Do we throw Vanderbilt in or an 11-2 ACC team in? So you got to make sure that everything that is at your disposal is on display and that you fix those minute little details that hindered your success. Ultimately, I do think this comes down to one thing, and it's Diego Pavia. And Diego Pavia at this point, I've seen him be able to come back. I've seen him be able to will his team to a win. And I've been able to see him be able to put up numbers when a lot of people said, well, they're just trash numbers. They're just garbage touchdowns. Call whatever you want. Numbers are numbers. And if you don't be able to adapt to that, he's going to take advantage of you. We talk about teams playing with fire and eventually they're going to get burnt. You let a team hang around long enough, especially one with the willpower by a psycho demon that calls Nashville home, you're not walking away with the win. So even if you watch as Auburn takes a lead, it's not going to end pretty for them, because I just think that Diego Pavia knows what's at stake, and I know how badly he wants this. I said that Hugh Freeze was going to be the inevitable and that his time was going to come to an end, getting clean swept by Diego Pavia. Well, there's a report that came out that said Auburn should have gone after Diego Pavia. Okay, well, for his career, he's going to make sure that he clean sweeps Auburn instead. And that ultimately is the deciding factor. One team has a quarterback, the other one doesn't. I got a final score of 24-14. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, but I do think that we are going to watch as Pavia and company roll their way to another victory and keep their playoff hopes alive for another week.
Bear, I like it. I will say this. I feel better about Auburn without Hugh Freeze. I do. I think I'd have even more confidence in Vandy if Hugh was still the head coach there. This defense is elite. Like you said, they have not allowed more than 24 points in a game all season. I don't think they allow more than 24 in this game. I agree with you. I think it's a lower scoring game. I might even late add under 45.5. That just feels like so many points in this ball game. I might take the under late, add that to my plays. So again, Auburn defensively is elite. You're right. What are we doing at the quarterback position? Is it Jackson Arnold? Is it Ashton Daniels? I'll say this. Vanderbilt's college football playoff hopes and dreams may die at some point. They've got 3 games left: Auburn, Kentucky, and at Tennessee. They may die at some point. They are not going to die Saturday. It's not going to happen at FirstBank Stadium against an Auburn team that, again, roster's still really good. Roster's much better than what the record's been this season, no doubt. How much was Hugh Freeze holding them back? I am excited to see that. But I don't think in a week's time, per se, firing Hugh Freeze solves all their problems and is going to lead to a victory over a team in Vandy that is a damn good football team. If you, for whatever reason, don't believe or haven't been paying attention, this isn't some Cinderella story. Vandy's a legitimately good football team, legitimate college football playoff caliber team on their home field. And you're right, Bear, they've got the quarterback. They've got the biggest advantage in this ball game. Lower scoring game. I think Vandy gets back to running the football with their backs. Again, maybe it's not a huge gaudy day, but I think they're going to force the issue. Diego Pavia hit a couple big shots. And listen, Vandy's got a defense of their own too. So I know Auburn's defense is going to get all the attention in this game, but Vandy's got a heck of a defense also. Lower scoring game. It's Vandy making the big play late, which they've done a lot this season. Give me Doors 20, Auburn 13. Vandy just covering that 6.5. And like I said, under 45.5. Probably going to be a late add to my card because I agree. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I don't see either one of these offenses, especially with these defenses in play, breaking out for anything crazy like 30-plus points. So Vandy 20, Auburn 13. Auburn season continues to spiral with or without Hugh Freeze, and Vandy for another week is still right there in the college football playoff hunt.
I mean, come on, Vandy Nation. Did you really think that we both were going to go against the Doors? I rode with you last week. I'm riding with you to the finish line. We're going to see Nashville get a playoff game. That is my goal. That is my ambition. That is where I sit today, is I want to make sure that Anchor Down is anchoring a spot in the college football playoff. I'm not giving up. These colors
our Anchor Down friends were pretty upset with me last week when I went against them, and I ended up being right, but not the case this week. The case this week. Vandy going to bounce back in a big way. So again, the Bear and I both going with Anchor Down, getting a win over War Eagle. Would love to hear your thoughts. What say you? Do you agree or disagree with us? Who comes out on top on Saturday in Nashville, Vandy or Auburn? Guys, it's going to do all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in before we get out of here. Do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's NBA tip-off week, and FanDuel is your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, it's going to do all for us. We appreciate you all tuning in. Like we mentioned, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you all on the other side.